What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. Now, today we only got one video coming at you, but this is going to be a full series video covering the entirety of the limited series Superman Lost. And this story is going to be following Superman as he traverses the stars. After Superman and the Justice League get a call, they jump into action like they always do. But amidst all of the chaos, there is a black hole that opens up. Superman getting sucked into this black hole, he gets spit out into space. And so now alone, so many light years away, so far away from everything that he knows and loves. But even in the depths of space, there are people that need Superman. And so while he struggles to find a way to get back to Earth, Superman does what Superman does best. He helps the helpless. He protects the innocent. But what happens when Superman returns? With space travel also being considered time travel, adding in the factors of time dilation, by the time Superman returns, it has been more than a decade that has passed, at least for Superman, while everybody on Earth, it has not been nearly as long. And so now Superman coming to terms with being away for so very long, what feels like a lifetime to him. Can he adjust back to his old world? Is the Superman left still the same Superman that returned? Make sure you guys have subscribed to the channel. Make sure that you like this video. And with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown.
Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we have Superman doing what Superman does. Currently, there is a high-speed chase going on. A woman driving this car going down the road being chased by police. That is where Superman comes into play, as this vehicle is about to go off the road trying to avoid some squad cars. Superman is able to grab the car, and from the trunk of the car, we see millions of dollars go up into the air. And of course, you have Lois Lane, who is writing about this story. This appears to be connected to a senator. There appears to be a growing scandal. You see, this young girl was a senator's aide, and she claims that she was completely unaware of the millions of dollars that were in the trunk. And so we have Clark and Lois who are discussing this entire thing. They are trying to get to the bottom of it, to see what is really at play. And while they are both reporters, Lois Lane is the one hugely focused on trying to uncover all of this. But while the two of them discuss this case, they get to a point where they decide it is time to go to bed. And like usual, Superman gets called out. While Lois is working on her story, Superman takes to the sky, a mission from the Justice League, letting Lois know that he will be back in no time. With Lois at her computer, she falls asleep for some hours. When she wakes up, Superman has returned. But upon his return, he says nothing. He simply stares. He stares at the city. He stares at the apartment. He stares at the woman that he loves. And while Lois tries to have conversation with him, she can see that he is completely zoned out. Recognizing that he is just spacing out completely, she goes over, gets right in front of his face, and tries having a conversation. For Lois Lane, this was a very quick mission. For Superman, he was gone for 20 years. Lois not sure what to say or what to think when he says this. That is when there is a ding at the door. That ding is Bruce Wayne. As he gets ready to tell her what had happened, he sees Superman, not expecting that Superman would be here. This is when Lois demands to know what Bruce did, because by the expression on Bruce's face, he seems surprised to see that Clark is here. This is when Bruce says that he should probably go, but Lois is saying that nobody is moving until she gets some answers. This is when Superman goes on to tell us what happened during the mission. A Chinese fighter had been shot down over the China Sea. At least that is a story that was being told. The truth is, a Chinese submarine malfunctioned and it sank to the bottom of the ocean, in sovereign waters where no Chinese sub should actually be. The Chinese had hoped to rescue the crew and recover the submarine before anybody realized that they were there. This of course led to a confrontation with the US forces. This resulted in an exchange of fire. The Chinese jet going down became a flashpoint for all-out war, and so the call went out. The Justice League did what they do. The entirety of the league is here, from Hal Jordan to Martian Manhunter, from Green Arrow to Aquaman, from Batman to Superman. The team is all on deck. As it stands, the situation is that a Chinese salvage crew had gone down. They went into the wreck hours ago, but they have never come out. Up on the surface, we have the Flash that is making the seas very choppy, running on top of the water, making this just almost hurricane status waves. He is making it to where all of their systems, their targeting, and navigation are going haywire. Meanwhile, we have Green Arrow up in the sky, and he is taking the fighter jets and really throwing them off course, not giving them the opportunity to shoot anything down. And so the team, they go down into the water. They go to investigate exactly what is happening. And when they get down there, they find that there is no sub. The only thing that they did know is that this was not from their world. As they investigate just a little bit, Martian Manhunter lets us know that he is detecting Hawking radiation within inside the vessel, and Hal Jordan confirms this. Small singularities tend to evaporate in bursts of Hawking radiation. That this is no submarine, this is an alien ship. And the Chinese rescue crew, if there is a singularity in there, any human would be torn apart. The Flash not being able to see what is going on because he's on top of the water, but a quantum singularity probability means a faster than light drive. The ship's stellar drive can create a wormhole. It has the ability to go beyond anything that humans currently have. But if it is destabilized, it has the opportunity of going freaking nuclear. The Justice League has come to understand that the Chinese were actually trying to steal the hyperdrive from the ship before anybody else could get their hands on it. This is what may have destabilized the containment field, and now the entire ship is being pulled into the singularity. If this is true, the ship is the least of their problems. The destabilized core could be drawing the entire bay into it, followed by the island, and then eventually the entire Earth, which means they need to collapse this singularity right now. And the only person that may be truly capable of doing it is Superman. Even Martian Manhunter would be torn apart by going inside. And so, using the lasso of truth, the unbreakable rope, they tie it around Superman. And the Justice League, they act as an anchor as Superman goes into the depths of this singularity. Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter, they are keeping him tethered. While he is in there, his communications are breaking up. The signal is degrading, and everything that Clark is saying is coming out almost unhearable. It's unaudible. But they do know that the ship's collapse is accelerating, with Batman screaming to get Superman out of there, believing that Superman is becoming disoriented, warning about the event horizon. This is where we see a giant explosion. All of our heroes shot out of the water. The lasso of truth no longer holding on to Superman. The ship is gone, and there is no sign of the Man of Steel. Obviously, Lois Lane is not happy about this situation. Clark telling her that if you want to be angry at anybody, you need to be angry at me. And so she says, let's get started. Because right now it sounds like we have 20 years that we need to catch up on. And she tells him to start from the very beginning. This is where we see Clark floating through space, unconscious and unknowing where he might be. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up with Lois and Bruce having a conversation. Lois currently investigating somebody, but the more pressing matter is what is going on with Superman. Batman is very curious on how he is doing, and right now he is doing exactly as you would expect. 20 years away, lost in space, away from everybody that he loves and cares about. It appears that he's not even used to sleeping in a bed any longer, because when Lois comes into the room, she finds him laying on the ground. He lays on the ground and he is not breathing. He completely zones out. When he comes back to, Lois is sitting there struggling to try and get him to breathe. And Superman didn't even realize he was doing this. He grew so accustomed to holding his breath for long periods of time that this is almost second nature for him. We are seeing that the readjustment, it is becoming a very big struggle for him. But this is what takes us out into space. Somewhere lost in the galaxy, we have an alien ship with a bunch of crew members that are investigating the wreckage where Superman is. They appear to be a salvage team. Looking at all the mess that is here, they are recognizing this is probably not worth their time, not worth their fuel to tow this back. While they investigate, that is where they see Superman. One of them seeing Superman's cape, they kinda want to take it for their own. And so they bring Superman on board. When Superman goes to breathe in, we see him almost instantly collapse. They are working to figure out the language and the vocabulary that he uses. They're also trying to figure out what kind of atmosphere Superman lives in. Once they finally pin down his biology, understanding that they need oxygen and nitrogen, we see Superman breathe again, locked away in a different part of the ship. They are observing him through monitors. When they ask how he ended up all the way out here, he goes on to explain exactly what happened with that quantum singularity, the creation of an artificial black hole. When he goes on to explain that he had stabilized this, or at least attempted to, all by himself, that he was somehow going to collapse a quantum singularity. They find this a little unbelievable, but he goes on to explain that his species, it expresses significant biochemical reactions to gravity. These reactions, in combination with a variety of properties from solar radiation, this produces a range of abilities that are very unique to his species. Having a flashback of Superman trying to stop all of this from happening. Not sure if anybody can hear him, but he is giving the guidance that he can. With the singularity collapsing, Superman finds himself being sucked into it. But Superman's body was completing the circuit. The singularity is collapsing, activating the star drive in the ship. Knowing that it's about to jump to hyperspace, he takes off the lasso of truth, and he disappeared into the cosmos. And of course, these individuals, they're finding all of this super hard to believe. But they let Superman know that they found his home planet, that this is third away from the star, telling him that this will be 3,200 credits. Superman says that he has no money. When they ask for his cape, he tells them no. Seeing that this guy isn't gonna pay up, they drop Superman onto a random planet. As Superman falls through the atmosphere, he is finding it very hard to gain control. He sees that it has 2 moons, which means this is not Earth. Superman going and falling from the sky, he lands on the ground to find himself surrounded by masked individuals, all of them using some kind of technology, almost like a cell phone if you will, trying to have communication with them, asking if they have a transmitter. When he grabs one of them, they all run away, but Clark is simply trying to have a conversation. The kid ripping his mask off, we see that this is a respirator. With Superman letting him go, this kid goes running off. Superman looking around this planet, seeing that the air pollution, it's pretty bad here, but it's still breathable. Superman taking off into the air. He quickly finds himself falling back down to the ground. Gravity and whatever is going on with their sun. There are so many variables on this new planet, but he's got to learn it all over again. The gravity here is much, much heavier. Just taking off feels like he has a tank that is on his back. It takes him a few steps, but he gets up into the air. He goes to investigate this planet, very similar to humans and Kryptonians. And of course, war. Extreme environmental sectors across the continent. A great variety of cultures. As he comes up to a giant ice wall, it has some kind of writing on it, but he doesn't understand what it says. As he goes onto the other side, what we see is some kind of huge farming area. That's when he hears a voice telling him that that warning was to stay away. That the writing on the side of that mountain says dead zone, do not pass. That this region is a toxic wasteland, and it is all thanks to the Zealots, or what they are called the New Ark, the mud people that Superman had tried talking to. This is when this guy says that his name is Victor, or at least that's what Superman believes at first. But their translator, it's not perfect. Victor is not his name, it is what he is. Leader of the Republic. He says that he is the people's friend. Superman understanding that this is the Victor. But the Victor is also recognizing that Superman can breathe oxygen. He does this without any kind of nasal implant. We can assume that the Victor does have them. Asking how Superman was able to survive the vacuum of space, Superman yet again goes into telling his story. Displaced by an artificial singularity, he ended up in another star system, that he can survive in space subject to a variety of conditions. Asking how long he's been lost out there. At this point, Superman doesn't know. Without his sun to rise and set, he kind of lost track. But Superman's first real question is the people here. How can I help them? And the Victor says that you cannot, and neither can he. It is not theirs to violate the will of the people, even when we disagree with what they are doing. But the Victor says that we cannot be helped, and we also cannot help you. That they have a few tools, meager supplies, and a personal survival kit. He tells Clark to go home, to go find where it is you belong, because our problems are way too big for you. This is where we see Superman flying off of this planet, having that survival kit, and it appears that he has a new kind of suit. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up with Lois Lane sitting at the computer. She has been doing a vigorous investigation, and she has taken a moment to take a break, to go do something else. But as she cleans out the closet, what she finds in there is a new suit. The white Superman suit that he had used to get back home. Now, if you guys have been keeping up with Superman, we saw that his time in Warworld, Lois Lane kinda likes to do some nighttime cosplaying with that suit. It looks like this white adventurous suit. This can also be added to the collection that they use for their extracurricular activities. But this is what picks us up with Superman out in space, somewhere in the galaxy. Being given this technology, it has some kind of artificial intelligence, a robotic system telling him good morning. This little interface, it is connected to his personal survival kit. If this interface is to be destroyed or damaged, the survival system will fail and go offline. But Superman doesn't need a reminder of this. This interface and this solar uniform, Victor's generous gifts. But Superman noticed that he was pretty anxious to get rid of Superman. But Superman is so focused on just getting back home. It has been 213 days since departing Kansas. That is what he named the system that he had come from. Not Earth, but the system where he got this survival gear. The unnamed planet, what he refers to as the Kansas system. The amount of distance. He has traveled 22,124,180,000 kilometers. And the Kansas solar system itself, it is 197 billion kilometers in diameter. In the grand scheme of things, this is essentially 7 months of travel, and he hasn't even left the neighborhood yet. And though the rechargeable solar array storing and amplifying energy in his sails from this uniform, it helps out his power levels as he moves through space. While it's better than nothing, it is only marginally efficient, like using a pair of AA batteries to power a Tesla, trying to get a theoretical distance to Earth. It is a minimum of 14,000 light years away, and there are 9.5 trillion kilometers in 1 light year. While Superman makes his way through space, he cannot help but think that that man Victor was trying to get rid of him, and he was so anxious to get home. He chose not to wonder why. Now he is thinking back. Did he abandon those people? Asking Superman if he would like to return back to what he has called Kansas. This is when an unsuspected ally comes into play. This is where he is introduced to space dolphins. His system unable to analyze the species. It is unknown to them, but they are accelerating towards some kind of velocity. Now, Superman knows what these are because Lobo had mentioned them when he was in the league. Lobo had logged that they could swim at roughly post-light speed. and so Superman is hoping that he can tag along in their wake. And these space dolphins are empaths, which means they can feel, they can sense his intention. He doesn't need to speak to them. And so Superman, he jumps along with them. Grabbing one of their dorsal fins, he heads off into space with this pod of dolphins. And the way that Superman puts it, based on parameters that he has supplied, at his best speed, he's wondering how long it will take to move within optimal range to get to the nearest yellow star sufficient enough to restore his powers. His survival kit, his interface, tells him roughly 6 months, and so he's gonna take his chance with the dolphins. Traveling faster than light closes the distance to any number of star systems. This will help him in recharging his powers and the cells in this solar suit. And with the dolphins visiting Earth before, they know the way. They are clearly leading him somewhere. Maybe home, maybe not. Asking the system what is his current speed. He is currently moving at 10 times the speed of light. Theoretically, it would take him 1,388,975 years at present speed to be able to get to Earth. And this is exactly Superman's point. If it takes 14 centuries, it is not possible that they traveled to Earth on their own. Logic dictates that they must be traveling through a network of black holes, of transwarp corridors, or any other anomaly allowing them to wander between galaxies. If Hal Jordan were here, he would know exactly how to get back home in the quickest way possible. Getting in close to a yellow sun, the flight record being 42 billion kilometers that they have gone, with Superman back to full power. This is when the dolphins start going haywire. He's hearing telepathy inside of his head. He drops out of hyperspace. The dolphins have stopped him here. As he looks around, he begins to understand that this was no coincidence. The dolphins didn't just happen across him in the universe. They came looking for Superman. They sensed his presence. They came for help. With Superman seeing some other dolphins trapped in some kind of gas, some kind of defensive parameter, Superman begins to understand that this is like a Venus flytrap. These young dolphin calves likely wandered in here, the parents trying to get them out of the trap. But Superman simply can't pull them out. He needs to shut down whatever this energy field is. He needs to find the source of all of it. Translating in every single language that this little device has, he hopes that somebody on this planet will understand what he is saying. Requesting an audience with their leader, we see a small section open up. A planet exposed. This is a planet that Superman wouldn't expect to find life. At least not the arrogant way that we define life as we know it. As he flies down to the surface, he's not really sure what he's looking for. Maybe a city, maybe giant metal structures, flying saucers. Gravity's considerably higher than Earth's, but this place is basically just a huge giant gas ball. And so flying for Superman is almost effortless. Not floating into space is the real challenge here. As he gets to the surface, he sees some kind of giant sand figure of himself. He goes to greet this thing, and it punches him, knocking him clear across this valley. Superman tries to say that he means no harm, but this giant sand monster of Superman calls him a liar, believing that he is an aggressive species, that it will lead to the death of their world, because the creatures that he was traveling with, those creatures are predators, ones that feed on the species of this Earth. This is when it finally clicks in Clark's head, that this species are microscopic organisms, that this isn't one creature, it is trillions, quadrillions, near the entire planet's population, pulling imagery from Superman's mind. They tell Superman that the creatures must be destroyed, but he says that he will defend them and he will defend the dolphins. And while they are in Superman's head, they know that he is not all rage, he is not all violence. He tells them that they can modify the defense shield to deter the dolphins without harming them. This seems to be a concept that they never even thought about. But there are other threats out there in the universe, ones that may be able to get through if they did that. But these microorganisms, they tell Superman that they will consider his offer. With this, the little dolphin calves have been freed. But he is seeing now that there are bigger invaders out there, that this planet was defending themselves against somebody that must have a star drive. That star drive could get him home. It's been almost a year, but as soon as these dolphins are free, they take off. They leave Superman behind, his survival rig getting caught in their wake. He goes chasing after it. Going as fast as he can, his batteries are being drained. Power reserves down to 20 and dropping, until they are inevitably exhausted, asking if he would like to return back to Kansas. The travel time back to that unknown planet is roughly 18 months. The interface asking what he would like to do. In a fit of anger, we see him crush that interface, and now he is out here in space all alone by himself with absolutely nothing. Alright gang, so our story is picking us up out in space. It is quickly recapping what has been ongoing. After losing his survival pack, he had put his Superman suit away inside of this thing. That is why he is so hell-bent on trying to track it down. And when those space dolphins had taken off, he went chasing after them, but he was never able to truly keep up. And then after destroying the interface that was helping him navigate the stars, he finds himself more lost than he has ever been. This is when we jump a little bit of time. Currently picking up at year 5 lost in space. We have an explorer that is making their way through this icy tundra, the ice quickly turning into grasslands. This explorer trying to avoid the Ascenders, because being in this area, this will easily get you 18 months in a determined camp for violating border zones. While running through the field, we see this explorer run into a mailbox. And when this person looks up, we see the house that Clark has built. And it has been explained that this part of the planet, this zone that Clark is in, it is rich in oxygen. But that oxygen, it is deadly to the people of this planet. But it appears that Clark has made his way back here, back to that planet that he was so curious about, that he felt so guilty about leaving behind. The place that he is referred to as Kansas. And now here he has built himself a home. This is when she sees that Clark is up on the porch. Making greetings, she goes on to say that she knows she shouldn't be here, but going on to say that they had met years ago, and Clark had referred to this person as Jimmy, having to ask the question, why is Clark here? Because they have all heard rumors of his existence, some even referring to Clark as a god. And so Clark goes on to explain exactly what he is doing here. After being lost in space, he had used comets to move him in the right direction, trying to not exert as much energy as he can. The comets were a great opportunity to not only get some rest, but point him in the direction that he wanted to go. And in all of this, he finds himself to be very lonely, crushing this little artificial intelligence that he had been using. This was the only thing keeping him company. And so now he's out here in space, more or less talking to himself. He doesn't know where he's going, he doesn't know what direction to head, and he worries that he might be losing his sanity. But flying blind through a nebula, cut off from most stars and draining his solar suit's reserve very quickly, he searched for that tiny backpack. And looking back on it, he thinks that maybe this was selfish, instead of being useful. Instead of trying to help somebody or something out here, he expended most of his powers trying to search for his luggage. But one day, he finally finds it. Ripping this pack open, that is when he finds his suit, his last connection to Earth. And after finding this, tears coming out of his eyes. In this moment, he closed his eyes and he was able to listen. He may not be able to find Earth, but as he listened, he found that he was very close to Kansas. It took him roughly 2 years, give or take, to get back here. An invisible god that comes to Newark, performing miracles at night. Now, the way that Clark sees it, these aren't miracles. He's just bringing medicine to the sick, food to the hungry. But now this person has tracked down Clark, and it has to be for a reason. You have taken great risks to come here, to come to the Forbidden Zone. You have risked everything, and so Clark must know what is going on in Newark. This is when Clark heads over to Victor after this conversation, asking Victor what the heck is going on. He tells Superman that it's really none of his concern, and so when Superman goes to investigate, what he finds is a full-scale invasion, with people fleeing for their lives. Clark wastes no time, he starts taking down ships. But even with Victor's solar suit, this planet's sun is barely half as powerful, and so he may not be able to stop this invasion, but he is going to help anybody that he can, as he tells these alien invaders to put down their weapons. This is when it is revealed that these are old friends, the ones that had dropped him off previously. Now they're a little bit confused by being called invaders. They seem to be completely unaware that there are hundreds of thousands of people down on the ground. They are using all of their robotics to simply scavenge this city. And they did so because of a contract that Victor had signed. And so of course, Superman goes back to Victor, and Victor goes on to say that here in the Republic, the people rule. The Zealots, they choose their own destiny. At one point in time, they had proposed some kind of planetary defense system, but the people had voted this down, as they did the space program and so many other things. But the Arkansians are simple people, believers in the magical, the absurd. Even now, they refuse to leave their ancestral grounds, even though it is sinking because of the polar ice caps. That the Republic is a glorious utopia, where war and poverty have been completely eliminated. The Arkansians are welcome to join them at any time, but they insist on staying in the mud, and the solution is voting them out. Leave them to their mud. But they have no voice in the affairs of the Republic. But Victor goes on to tell Superman that none of this is your concern, because now there are space vessels with star drives. They have finally come, and now he can finally go home. And so Superman goes back to his little orange friends. Superman is trying to get the Arkansians to leave this planet. He is hoping that these new friends will relocate them to a healthier planet. They let Superman know that inevitably this planet will be destroyed. The star that this rock orbits is unstable. Within decades, it will turn into a red giant. The problem is, these people will not relocate. You would have to drag them out of their homes to get them to leave, telling Superman that he must accept that some people just can't be helped. But they say that once they are done, they will do him the favor of helping him try to find Earth. Superman refusing to leave these people, refusing to abandon this planet. They let Superman know they were not going to play this game with you. They don't want your help, and there is only one of you. Not even Superman can defeat all of us alone. But lucky for Superman, he's not doing this alone. As they look up to the sky, we see the Green Lanterns have arrived. Alright gang, so this story starts us off with Wonder Woman and Lois Lane. The two of them sitting down for lunch. Lois Lane being the first one to truly say anything. Right off the bat, she is letting it be known that she was never really a fan of Wonder Woman, saying that it's more than likely because of the bathing suit that she wears around as a costume. And with Diana going on to say that her and Clark have never had anything happen between them. Lois says she knows, to simply just ignore her because she's had a long walk from Rational these days. But Lois wants to know if she brought it, and she is talking about the lasso of truth. Superman is still lost, and Lois is running out of options. She is hoping that using the lasso of truth on her husband, this might bring him back. After all of this time, Superman is having trouble adjusting back to Earth, asking himself, who are these people? What did I used to do here and why? For them, he was only gone for a few hours. But for him, he can't remember his life, his job, none of it. With Diana saying that she hopes the lasso can help. The name, the word hope. Lois isn't a fan of it right now, and we're gonna get into exactly why that is. That's what takes us to Joshua Tree, Year 8, the home of Clark on this planet that he has dubbed Kansas. He has been here for 8 years, and his Green Lantern, she is here as well. Now, we learned that this Green Lantern's name is Hope. We learned that her homeworld had been destroyed. She was alone, but she pursued those that had done this to her planet. That's when she found Superman, and their years of visitation have caused her to think this as her home. thinking that maybe it's time Clark did the same as well. Now, Clark is the one that said she's a Green Lantern. Superman has spent years trying to teach her exactly what that means. And it all began on the day that they met years ago. That's what takes us to that battle. Superman and our Green Lantern fighting against these forces. This event took place 3 years ago. So Superman and Hope, they have known each other for 3 years, ever since this day. With Superman and our Green Lantern fighting against these forces. Superman's old acquaintances, they are not happy about this. They try to appeal to Victor. They try to appeal to the Republic, trying to use legality, saying that they have a contract. But the way that Victor sees it, Superman is not part of the Republic. He is an illegal alien that is in the Republic, that they have no jurisdiction over him, that they cannot stop him, that it is up to this alien force to do whatever it is they need to do and work around Superman. That Superman is their problem and not the Republic's. And so they give Superman a last option, saying that they will take him to Earth. If he simply stops what he's doing, they will give him a ride home. But now that he has a Green Lantern here, he has no need for them, letting them know that this planet is now under the protection of the Green Lantern Corps, needing Hope to see something before they leave. Superman burns into the ground, Hope following behind. They have gone to the Republic, the leading political faction of this world, with Superman going on to explain exactly what this world is all about, what their politics are all about. Superman has come to let Victor know that he is leaving, but the Green Lantern of this sector is going to be taking over from now on, believing that the Green Lantern of Earth had sent her to find him. But this is where Hope says, I don't know who you are, and I don't know what a Green Lantern is. And so picking up later, we have our Green Lantern and we have Superman. Hope is letting us know that she has no idea what a Green Lantern is or what that means. The ring's previous owner had perished before they could bestow any new knowledge. And ever since then, the ring has been silent. But Hope finds herself disconnected from whatever network may be out there. Her ring only retains a local map of this space sector. But somewhere out in the galaxy, they reach the sector boundary. They are about 27 light years away from Kansas. It had taken Superman 3 years just to travel a fraction of the distance that they covered in less than an hour. But looking out here, there is nothing familiar. No star system, no nebula, none of it. As we pick back up in year 8, Superman making his way throughout the house, and our Green Lantern Hope showering in the bathroom. She had left the door cracked open. Superman glimpsing in for a moment, but out of view as soon as she looks up. And in the middle of the night, young Jimmy, he gets an idea. He thinks that he found a temporal rift, a way for Superman to get back home, saying that they will show Superman when he returns. This is where we see Hope smash in Jimmy's face, asking what is she doing? Hope is saying that I can't let you take him away from me. And in this moment, she ends Jimmy's life. While Superman stares out the window back in present day, the smoke alarm going off. Lois wakes up trying to talk to Clark, but this is where Clark calls Lois Hope. And at first, Lois thought that maybe this was a prayer, maybe this was something else. But she has come to realize that this is a name, trying to tell Clark that he's not back on that planet anymore, that he is home and he is safe, that she is going to prove it. Taking out the lasso, she wraps it around him. And in that moment, he sees the truth. Alright gang, so we are picking up in present day as the Justice League prepares to head out on mission. This is day 26 of Superman being back. He is still wearing that uniform that he wore for so many years, the survival suit. But we're picking up with him and Bruce having a conversation. They are about to head out on mission, with Bruce asking him if he has seen a bunch of heroes leaving for a space mission. Superman tells him that he knows, that he's trying, And while Bruce says there is no try, getting ready to quote Yoda, Superman says that Bruce, you are nothing more than a memory to me, like an old friend who moved away decades ago, though you still are an old friend. This is just difficult. Now Bruce says the last time that you crossed that threshold, you lost everything, but you made it home. Bruce wants to know how. This is what picks us up with year 13 of his isolation away from Earth. We pick up with his Green Lantern. Superman has taught her the oath. He has been helping Hope with all of her powers. But as she says that mantra, when she says no evil, she remembers the moment that she struck down Jimmy. Not really sure what she is or what she is becoming, she goes outside to find Clark, letting him know that it is time to go, and she's not coming back. Neither is Superman. Over the years, they have placed dozens of probes in deep space. None of them have located Earth, but all confirm an obvious truth. This system's star is dying. Along with it, Clark is losing his powers. Right now, that star is swelling into a red giant. It is causing massive solar flares. It is destabilizing this entire planet. With this, his powers have been fading for years. This makes him increasingly dependent upon that survival kit. Now, this suit was designed to really augment his powers, not replace them. The solar suit was designed for transit across deep space, amplifying ambient solar radiation. This boosts his native abilities while traveling at great speeds, at great distances. But this system, it has its limitations. And so any day now, if this star decides to go, Superman will be trapped here on a dying world. But Clark has to wonder, do I just go and leave these people to die? The way Hope sees it, they're gonna die anyway, just like Krypton, victims of their own arrogance. This world divided, squabbling, conspiratorial, oppressing one another for political gain. Their problem has never been a dying star, but their immaturity as a species. But Hope does understand his reluctance. There's nothing more terrible, more awful than being alone. But she promises him that they will always have each other, that he has done all he can here and he simply can't save them. But we all know Clark, and he tells her that he is going to try. This is what picks us up at the city-state of Northland, near the Great Wall. He is trying to talk to every single leader of this planet and let them know that this star is going to collapse, that all of you are going to die, that it could take a couple thousand, 100 years, but it also could happen tomorrow. But the Ice Lord simply doesn't care that it takes centuries for a star to go bad, which means either it is too late for them to do anything about it, or it happened long after they are all dead. That makes it somebody else's problem. And though Superman wants the world leaders to join together, the Ice Lord says that that's never gonna happen, that you could never get the votes. The idiots of Newark, they would never do this. They block everything. And so of course, this is what takes us to Newark, as they all communicate using their tapestry, the communal exchange. This is when Judge Kane, he calls out the god amongst them. Now Clark goes on to say that I have told you over the years that I am no god. I am simply your friend, and that all world leaders, they must band together to save this planet. They have all heard this rhetoric. The sky is falling. Clark has been preaching doom for many summers, and yet nothing has happened. That their world's problems are too big for Superman, too big for 10 of him, telling him to go be a hero somewhere else. This is what takes him over to Victor. Now, all those years ago, Victor had made a contract to scavenge Newark. Superman is finally asking the question, what did they give you in return? And though Victor says, I don't know what you're talking about, that's when he turns to Hope. And she says, of this ring, I am told that there is a Green Lantern Corps, a vast network of agents spread across the universe. She would love to meet them and join their cause. Superman has taught her the Lantern's Oath, what makes one worthy of the ring. And so she looked through the files, and what she found was a stellar drive, a spaceship capable of leaving the space sector. Now at first, Superman believes that Victor's plot is to rescue the elite while abandoning everybody else. But Victor tells Superman that you are a fool, that there is only one ship and it is a prototype. They did not develop this Ark for them. They built it for Superman, but they're not trying to help him. The Ark is a failsafe. It is a failsafe against Superman's interference and aggression, letting Clark know that you won. He has at long last united the world leaders. They unanimously agree that Superman should leave. This is what takes us to year 19. Clark's powers are nearly gone. So many times he has wondered, do his powers make him who he is? But Hope says that we are simply who we are, slaves to our fate. And while Hope is able to come and go as she pleases, Clark wonders why she returns. Hope says that that's a stupid question. They are friends. She doesn't want to be alone, and so she will never leave Clark. This is when Victor arrives, with the years aging him. He goes on to ask Superman why you're here, because you've achieved your goal, united the world leaders, if only in their disdain for Superman. But Superman is here for the people. He is not here for the world leaders. But Victor goes on to say that assistance you say they need, you are no longer capable of providing, that you cannot even fly without that survival suit. This is where he takes it off, saying that he is unwilling to abandon these people. But Victor lets him know that his launch window, it is rapidly closing, that if he doesn't launch immediately, he is going to miss his interval. He would have to wait another 20 years before he can leave again. The interval, the appearance of the temporal rift. Victor says that Jimmy discovered it nearly 10 summers ago. He posted his discovery to the tapestry, directions to his gateway home. This is where we see him get hit with a Green Lantern blast. Superman shocked and stunned, and we see Hope completely outraged, telling Superman that you can't leave me, that I will not allow it. This is when she goes in to attack Superman. She wanted to tell him. She tried to tell him about Jimmy. She didn't mean to. She was simply afraid. But if she's being honest, Superman knew. He knew that his respirator didn't fail. Superman chose to look the other way, chose hope. And so now she is asking to choose me again. Choose me now. With Superman grabbing his cape, telling her that you gotta stop this, that you're not alone, that there are millions of people, all of them that will be dead soon, like the owner of the ring that she now wears, like her home world. And once Superman fails to save this planet, she will be alone again, lost in the galaxy, with Superman flying up to the sky, limited power but still able to get off the ground. Hope following close behind, saying before I allow you to leave, I would destroy everything on this planet. That she needs him and he needs her. That Clark has tried and tried again, but these people are beyond help. That together they can search the cosmos for a new home. Perhaps even find Earth. Superman grabbing his cape and wrapping it around his fist. He lets her know that she is right about Jimmy. He should have suspected, but he was so self-absorbed, so arrogant, teaching her the Green Lantern's oath as if it meant something to her. She may look like a Green Lantern. She may have a Lantern's power ring. He had accepted that the convention that the ring chooses its owner, and that it would select a person of character, with Superman giving her construct a heavy punch. As he suspected, this ring is of an older generation, still limited to its yellow impurity. And so that S symbol on his cape, which is yellow, it is wrapped around his fist and it is giving him a weapon to use to fight against Hope. But Superman does tell her that he has been wrong, caught up in his own problems, substituting this world's problems for his own, as if saving them will somehow fix him. Both of them have been wounded, both in mourning, but this is not about them. It is about the millions' lives at stake. Ironically, Hope is right. He does have to go. He has no choice. This world cannot be saved by Superman. That they have to locate a suitable planet thousands of light years away, transport millions, build infrastructure, an impossible task. The only way to save these people is to leave and bring back help. As the two of them continue their fight, Superman is able to take the ring off of her finger, the two of them landing in snow and her knocked unconscious. He now understands that this is an outdated ring disconnected from Oa, referencing Green Lantern Corps' Central HQ, still ineffective against the color yellow. He knows that he can't take it with him, not willing to risk it. But if he does succeed, others will come. He leaves the ring behind, leaves it right next to Hope, and says that he is counting on her to do the right thing. With Clark hopping into his ship, he takes off, Not really sure if he's even going to be able to survive this. The vehicle will not survive the stress of the anomaly's event horizon. His powers are nearly gone. Even with fixing the suit, the survival kit that he is wearing, there's still the likelihood that he would be ripped apart. But if he survives, the Green Lantern Corps will evacuate everybody. We see the ship take off, with the pressure exceeding its design limits. We see the fiery explosion, Superman being shot out of the ship as it probes the gravity of the event horizon. The suit tells Superman to abort, that in his weakened state he cannot survive this, telling him that at his diminished power level, this would crush him. But he tells the suit no, that this is the only way to save everybody. As he pushes himself beyond the limits that he has known, his nose begins to bleed, and then a hand grabs hold of his cape. That hand being an old version of himself. Old man Superman telling him no, to go back before you kill everybody. Alright gang, so as we dive into issue number 7, we are picking up with Superman going incognito, making his way to a doctor's office. And while the guy says that he's not a doctor, Superman continues to call him this. It doesn't take long for this man to figure out that this is in fact Superman. He talks about not remembering Krypton, about his cousin, one who had seen that world. He never understood what she had lost. But after his last adventure, he is beginning to understand. Everything, everyone, suffering unimaginable emotional trauma. He feels like he has been patronizing his cousin. He thought that he was mentoring her, without a clue of the pain that she carried around with her every day. And this is when he switches the subject, talking about Lois Lane, that she has been trying for 2 months now to get him back home. He knows that he is losing the love of his life, but he doesn't know how to fix it. As they begin the session, this is where we pick up with Superman and the old version of himself, 19 years in at Anomaly A612, with the young Superman trying to move as fast as he can, trying to get away from the old man Superman. He tells Clark to just listen to me, to simply talk to me, with the young Clark asking, how is it even possible that you are flying so close to the singularity? But the truth is, he's had decades to survey A612. He has found several protected lanes near the anomaly. He tells him that there is no doubt about this. I am in fact you, escaped Victor's planet in order to save it. At least that's what he told himself. And the device that they had been using to map their journey was useless. The singularity's gravity has already scrambled all the navigation. They will never locate that planet again. Old man Superman tells him that it had been decades before he finally actually reached Earth. He had lost everything. He returned back here to give a warning to himself. He wants to save him. This is where we get a glimpse of Superman's life. After spending decades away, he returns home, and we find an old man Superman sitting in a wheelchair. Jimmy Olsen coming into the room, and we learn that Superman has been on the roughest of times. At this point, he doesn't even want to be called Superman any longer, just Clark. Lois remarrying years ago, but we quickly learn that Superman's powers have been stripped away from him. What they call the miracle filtration, reversing the greenhouse gas effects on Earth. And so what they're saying is that they were able to reverse climate change, but in doing so, it took away Superman's powers. The sun's rays were not able to penetrate through the Earth's atmosphere in the same ways. And so down here on Earth, Superman is mortal, but he believes what really destroyed him was his own pride. Already in a weakened state, deep into denial, he led the Justice League against ferocious enemies. But this battle had cost him everything. This is where we see that they have been moving, a secure area Bravo 6. Jimmy is taking Superman somewhere. Though this is a secure area, we see flames off in the distance. Cities ravaged by rioting and looting. The idea is to get Superman into low orbit, above Earth's charged atmosphere. This should restore his powers. The only catch, this is a one-way trip. He can never return to Earth. Picking back up with Old Man Superman and the young Superman at year 19. Asking how many times he has told that story, Old Man Superman says a bunch. But the story never works like it is supposed to. He simply wanted Superman to go down a different path. The life that he has been holding on to is gone. Presuming he survives, the wormhole could spit him out anywhere in space and time. This old man Superman is just one of countless possibilities. But he does tell the old man Superman that you wouldn't actually tell me I never made it home, no matter the circumstance, because Superman wouldn't want to know, because hope is all that he has left out here, asking the old man Superman to come with him. But the old man Superman says that that is something he doesn't want to do. There is no Superman, there is only Clark. Earth is all you have ever known. You have a 1 in a million chance of finding it again. Never take it, never take her for granted again. Not too long later, we find Superman floating in the abyss. Nothing and no one in sight, until we see the silhouette. A man in a spacesuit coming to the rescue. That man is none other than Adam Strange. With Adam Strange showing up on scene to rescue Superman, presumably taking him back to Ron. We have the epilogue that picks us up with Lois Lane and Lex Luthor. She has come to try and strike a deal with Lex, trying to get Superman back to the man he was before he was lost in space. And they both know that Lex, he wants to beat Superman. He doesn't want to kill Superman, he wants to be the better. He wants to be better than Superman. And in the state that he is in right now, he feels as if he was cheated. Lex Luthor feels like the world cheated him out of the opportunity to do this to Superman himself. And then Lois at a point that she will do anything and everything it takes to bring that man back. Lois asking where do they begin? Lex says that it's already started. Lois Lane has cancer. He has been micro-targeting her with gamma emissions since the minute she arrived. With Lois ready to punch him in the face, he says that this isn't a joke. You asked for my help and I have given it to you. Rescuing you is what Superman does. This is what making a deal with the devil looks like. Now at first she says that he is being ridiculous to stop all of this, but he says that there is no cure for cancer. If there was, he would have invented it a long time ago. He says to go get an opinion, and then you tell him. That ought to wake Superman up. After that, let him come to me. Now that is where this issue will end, and this is going to take us into issue number 8. Alright, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up some weeks later. We're having a conversation between Lex Luthor and Lois Lane. Someone had just broken into Lex Luthor's house, but Superman didn't come running in. In fact, he has expected Superman to come barging in through a wall for quite some time. Since that is not happening, he knows that Lois Lane has not told him, and so he is calling to remind her of exactly what she is supposed to do. With this conversation coming to an end, we are picking up on Ron. We pick up with Adam Strange, his wife, and Superman. They talk about the distance from here to Earth. About 4.5 light years. But the reason that he can't just take off is time dilation. If he were to do this, even with their fastest ship, he would arrive on Earth at least 10 years after the Zeta Beam could get him there. That space travel is time travel. And since they can't know precisely when the Zeta Beam is going to take them off of here, Superman has to stick by Adam's side the entire time. And in mid-conversation, this is where the Zeta Beam comes down. Adam Strange touching Superman. They Zeta Beam out of here and we pick up in present day at day 85. Superman has been back on Earth since Lost in Space for 85 days. Currently facing off against John Corbin, aka Metello. And after everything that Superman has been through, he understands John more than ever before. He has always seen Superman as the man that has everything and he has nothing. That John Corbin is homeless, friendless, loveless, while Superman has a team, cheering fans. Lois Lane, he has all of this, and John has nothing. What John doesn't understand is that Superman understands this now more than ever before. And while he tries to talk to him, he tries to reason with him, this is when Kara comes in wearing that utility suit and takes down John Corbin in one blow. Afterwards, Superman having a conversation saying that he's not happy about what she did, that he should have been given a chance. While they have this argument, the topic of the planet he left behind is brought up. The planet that he left to bring back help, but now he cannot find his way back to that planet. Kara is trying to let him know that he has done all that he can. He must move on, that Earth is his home and it must be his focus.
As we pick up on day 87, we have Superman at the bedside of Lois. With her covering up the fact that she has cancer, she has been saying that she is just down ill. But they talk on the topic of the planet that is left behind. She knows that she will never get the man she loves back unless he figures out a way to save that planet, to get back there. That this is unresolved for him and he must fix it before his life can be fixed here. Picking up on day 88, we pick up with Superman and Black Adam. Alongside them, Adam Strange. Superman had come to Black Adam seeking a kindred spirit, someone who had made a similar journey lost alone in the void, as they are currently battling off this little void that is opened up here on Earth. A dimensional pocket letting out a horde of creatures. Our heroes take them out, and Shazam brings down the lightning to close up the portal, with Black Adam asking where is Superman's home, because he does seem a little bit lost. Going on to talk about time dilation. It didn't take him 5,000 years to get home, but by the time he got home, nearly 5,000 years had passed, and there is a difference there. He doesn't know how long his journey actually took him, but what he does remember is losing his mind, the relentless cold, the blackness, alone for years. The one man on Earth that might actually understand what Superman is going through. Superman saying that he still wants him on the League because he was once a good man, and Superman believes that he still can be. Black Adam going on to say that after everything, after all you've been through, you're still trying to save me. And so he tells Superman, you came here for my help, so here it is. You are home. Accept it. Take yes for an answer and learn from the mistakes of Black Adam. Don't waste the gifts you have left. On day 90, we pick up with Superman taking Lois to bed, her foot accidentally knocking over her purse, and Superman finds not only the call log to Lex Luthor, but the medication that she is supposed to be taking for her cancer. Superman has just learned the truth, as we cut over to a scene of Lex Luthor patiently waiting. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we pick up with Lex Luthor in bed. He sits here awake in the middle of the night, unable to sleep, because Lex is waiting on one thing. He is waiting for the arrival of Superman. He is waiting for Big Blue to come crashing through that door, to knock down one of these walls, to tear apart one of these paintings, and to make Lex pay for the thing that he has done to his beloved. But that day never comes. The door never breaks down. The wall never crumbles. The painting remains intact, and Lex Luthor is left frustrated. This is where we pick up inside the imagination of Superman. After learning everything that he has done, Superman cannot help but imagine what he would do to Lex Luthor. To smash him through a wall, to punch him until his face is bloody, to throw him in front of a moving vehicle and let his life expire. Inside Superman's mind, this is the what if. This is where we pick up with Clark and Lois. With Clark having the evidence in hand, he is asking Lois why. Why would you lie? Because this is not what we do. Lois having to admit that it was a stupid play. It was a stupid idea, but she had to try and get Clark back some way, shape, or form. That he may have returned, but his mind is a million miles away. His mind is with those people, the people that he came to love and care about. And while he would love to pretend that he is accepted, that no one can find that planet, he would love to pretend that they are all gone and out of his mind and he has left it all behind. The truth is, it haunts him every single day. But Lois says it was wrong for her to do everything that she has done. This is who Superman is at the end of the day. But she tells him not to worry about Lex, that she will take care of all of this. This is where Lois shows up to Lex Luthor's place. She has come demanding the cure, and at first he tries to play innocent like he doesn't know what she is talking about. But at the restaurant, she was bombarded with gamma rays. Lex Luthor was only a couple seats away, which means he exposed himself as well. Or he is lying, which means there is a cure, or she was never given cancer to begin with. Recognizing that she has figured it out, Lex Luthor hands it over.
As she leaves, we see Superman showing up at the door. Using his heat vision, he burns Lex Luthor down to nothing but ash. This is yet another fantasy, what Superman wishes he could do. Talking to the therapist is letting him know that this is a common thing. But Superman believes he shouldn't be having these thoughts because he doesn't want to kill Lex. But it doesn't mean that you're not human at the core at the end of the day. Your feelings, your emotions, all of these things psychologically, they're not necessarily unhealthy ways to play it out. While you may never act on these things, it doesn't mean that those feelings don't exist. Superman returning home, Lois is learning that these were fake cancer symptoms, that he didn't actually douse her with gamma rays. He had just given her something that made it seem like she had cancer. But this cure quickly made all of those symptoms go away. And as they tried to get back to some kind of normalcy, embracing one another, there is a knock at the door. We have the arrival of Bruce, letting them know that there has been a development. And then they hear a voice from outside the window, a language that Superman hasn't heard in quite some time. As Lois goes out to look and see who this might be, we see a pink woman who is a Green Lantern. As we observe closer, we see that this is in fact Hope, and Hope is pregnant. Alright gang, so we pick up on Victor's planet. Year 22. Superman is gone. Any hope of him returning, it seems to be slim to none. Their sun is becoming a red giant. It is approaching supernova. At this point, even if Superman could return, this would make him powerless. He wouldn't be able to help them anyway. Their time has come. And then we pick up on day 90 of his return home, of Superman's return home. And he is met by Hope Green Lantern. Obviously, Lois is not happy about this situation. Wanting to figure out what's going on, Clark goes over to the window and begins to talk. He tells Hope that she shouldn't have come. She says that before his ship had been destroyed, it had returned telemetry of his journey from Victor's planet. She has come to bring back help. The Ring making a record of her journey. She knows how to get back to Victor's planet, telling Superman that the Ring defies space-time, and so together with the Core, they could still save the planet. This is where Bruce gets a notification. It appears that war is breaking out in Cosnia. Separatist faction are launching an attack, looking like this is going to be an all-out bloodbath. We see Superman take off. It doesn't take long for him to make his arrival on the battlefield, charging full force into one of these tanks. While he smashes into this, we have Bruce who is trying to talk to him. And in the background, we have Lois trying to communicate with Hope, trying to figure out who that baby belongs to. Now, she says Victor's planet, while Bruce is trying to let Superman know that we don't mess around with geopolitical conflicts, that the League doesn't do this. But today, Superman has had a change of heart. He takes that door right to the doorsteps of this congressional hearing, both sides fighting one another, arguing, throwing blows. And all of that comes to an end with the arrival of Superman. He begins to question them, asking when is it enough? How many dead? How many homeless? How is any of this winning? That you have had the same argument amongst your own people for centuries. It is time that you end the cycle. End it right here, right now. Sever the connection to the past. Build a bridge to the future. Not even Superman can stop all wars. But today, he is stopping this one. And so what you choose to do moving forward, that is up to you. Superman taking off, he meets up with the League. And the League are letting him know that they are ready. They are ready with lanterns to head to Victor's planet, to finally take care of it. As we see them all teleported out, letting Superman know that they will keep him posted. Lois and Clark are left behind, and the first thing Lois says is, Hope's baby, it's yours. Hoping that she is lying. Clark says that that's not necessarily how it works. Not even sure if she knows how to lie. However, Hope's species reproduces through a different means. She found a live follicle in a hairbrush. This is kind of all it really takes for her species to reproduce.
She is essentially incubating a clone of Superman, one that will be mixed with her DNA. And while Clark does try to comfort her, Lois screams at him to go with your friends and save Victor's planet. But it has a red sun, and so Superman would be powerless. He would be useless. Lois says that there is no way you could be useless, not with your symbol of hope on your chest. And if you don't go on this mission, she may never get her husband back. She has been living with a ghost, and so he must go do this. He must go ensure that everything is taken care of. With him kissing Lois, he swears that he will return, as we pick up with Lois doing some work. This is where we have the arrival of Clark returning home, asking if the mission was a success. He said minus a few hiccups, he was only gone for a couple of days. This is where Lois begins to get very confused, asking where the white suit is, talking about Victor. Superman has no idea what she is talking about. This is where she starts to panic a little bit, asking what did he do? But then she thinks about what Adam Strange had told her. Moving faster than light, space travel is time travel. And so what this is time travel. Asking how Clark got back. Those little orange space people, they dropped him off. But Lois knows that this is all wrong, wondering, is this even her love? Is this even her husband? This is what takes us to anomaly A612. Timeline uncertain. We have Superman returning to the old version of himself. He tells them that they saved Victor's planet, that it took them nearly a decade to relocate the inhabitants, who immediately began bickering yet again. But he was telling the truth after all. This old man Superman is him, literally from his own timeline. But the old man couldn't say so, because it was a choice that Clark was going to have to make for himself. One that he knew that he would make, to never go home again. This is where we see Hope and Clark falling out of hyperspace. While everybody else heads on, Superman thinks about something Lex Luthor had told him, that every man has his own destiny. The only imperative is to follow it, to accept it no matter where it lands him. This is where we see Superman and Hope. Superman talking about the Lantern Ring having the ability to warp space-time, that the clock changes as they transect wormholes. This had been calculated for. The range and velocity to his first encounter with this group of little orange aliens. And so Hope using her ring to blind their sensors from their approach. He had promised Lois that he would get back home. There is only one way to guarantee this. He takes that device, loaded with all the information, and he puts it into the aliens' navigational array. This means that they will drop him off, and that he never went to Victor's planet. But there is still this old man Superman that is out there. He knows that there will be a mystery, that Lois will pick at it, demand answers, but ultimately trust the choices that he made. For her, for Earth, for Victor's planet. To send the man she loves back to her. Wondering how many times they have made this choice. We see him entomb the old man Superman, sending the record of all of this with him, for those who come after them. Hope for Victor's planet, to give hope to the hopeless. And we see that Hope gives birth to a child. But this is not Superman's child. This is the child of Shimmy, the first Arcosian born as a citizen of the Republic, because it was not Superman's hair, it was Shimmy's. Superman out here in the vastness of space, but also Superman has returned home with no memory of this adventure. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm gonna be 100% honest, I don't get it. I have no idea what just happened. Now, if I try to break it down, I've read this a couple times and I still can't understand it. Maybe you guys can explain it to me. Like I've said before, time travel can get freaking confusing, but it appears that there are 3 different versions of Superman. The very old man Superman, the gray-haired white suit Superman, and then the Superman that returns. But if Superman returns, if he never goes to Victor's planet, then the events that transpire on Victor's planet never happen. Superman never goes there. And so how would there be an old man Superman out there in space? How would there be 2 of them? Because if he never goes to Victor's planet, he never returns back to Earth and feels the need to go with the Justice League back to Victor's planet. Like, I'm really trying to make sense of this story, and I just don't get it. And if he never went to the planet, Green Lantern Hope would have never taken the hair from the hairbrush, birthing Jimmy's child. I mean, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe there's something that I'm missing that I just can't see. I've read this comic at least 3 or 4 times since last night, and I just can't see what it might be. But maybe you guys can shine some light on it. Maybe you guys can help me out and figure out what it is I'm missing. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you want to get caught up on everything that has been going on with Superman Lost, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It's going to get you completely caught up on everything going on with this series. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. Much like Patreon, having multiple different tiers, from $1 to $50, from loyalty badges to comics every single month. Not only are you helping out the channel tremendously, but you are getting tons of perks in the process. If you're unable to do any of that, do me a favor, hit the sub button, hit the like button on this video, make sure you're smashing that notification bell so you don't miss any of the content that we got coming out. And with that being said, until the next breakdown.